Laziness is not the reason your house is messy. A switch inside your brain quietly shut itself off, and you never even noticed. That one line probably just hit you right in the chest, because for years you have been calling yourself the wrong name. We all grew up hearing the same thing. A messy house means the person is sloppy, careless, and kind of useless. You have heard this so many times that you just accepted it as the truth. And today, I am going to show you that this one belief is the biggest lie. The lie that has taught millions of people to stay angry at themselves every single day. I already know the question popping into your head right now. You are thinking, then why does picking up one shirt or washing one plate, something that takes 2 minutes, feel so impossible? The answer will stop you cold, because cleaning a room is not really one task. It is hundreds of tiny decisions, and every decision eats up a little more of your mental energy. But this is exactly where the real problem is hiding. Because this story is not just about a dirty floor. It is a story about shame, the kind of shame that does not push you to act. It just freezes you up even more. It is a story about the moment a room stops being just a room and quietly becomes you. And here is the biggest part. You still do not know what your own brain shut that switch off to protect you from. I am saving that answer for the very end of this video because once you hear it, you will never see yourself the same way again. Let me paint you a scene. See if it feels familiar. It is Sunday night, and tomorrow morning the whole week comes charging at you again. You are standing in the doorway of your room. The shopping bags from Target have been sitting next to the couch for 3 days now. A mug has a dried brown coffee ring inside it, and there is a faint, stale smell in the air. You tell yourself, okay, just 5 minutes, I will start today. Then those 5 minutes turn into morning, and nothing has changed. This scene grows a little bigger every single day. You stop inviting anyone over. When friends ask, you say, I am a little busy, let us catch up later. The fear that someone might come in and see it sits on your chest all the time, and every time you think, this weekend I will clean it all up and start completely fresh. But Saturday comes, and you are so tired that you just stare at it, with no idea where to even begin. At first it is just laundry, then it becomes guilt, then it becomes a wall that cuts you off from people. At some point, the room does not feel like a messy room anymore. It feels like proof that you are a failure. You call yourself lazy, useless, and bad. But what if every single one of those labels is wrong? What if this messy room does not expose your character, but quietly shows you exactly what is going on inside your brain? To understand that, we first have to look at one simple thing that is sitting right there on your wall at home. Think about the electrical panel in your house. Inside it, there is a circuit breaker. When too many things run at once and the load gets to be too much, the breaker trips on its own, meaning it just clicks everything off. That is not a mistake. It is a form of protection, because if the breaker did not trip, the whole house could catch fire. Your brain has a breaker just like that one. Psychologists call it executive function, and in plain words, it is the manager of your brain. This manager decides which task comes first, where you start, what you keep, and what you throw away. This manager does 3 jobs: starting a task, sorting things by what matters most, and switching from one task to the next. When you are doing fine, well-rested and calm, this manager works quietly in the background, and you do not even notice. But when you are tired, low on sleep, and buried under stress, this manager gets completely worn out. And then what happens? Cleaning stops being a simple task. It turns into a mountain of questions all at once. Where do I put this? Do I start with the kitchen or the bedroom first? Do I wash this mug now or later? Think about it. One glance at a messy room forces your brain to make at least 30 to 40 separate decisions in a short span. What to grab first, where to put what to toss out, and every one of these tiny decisions pulls one more drop of charge from that mental battery. Researchers call this decision fatigue, which simply means getting worn out from making decisions. The psychologist Roy Baumeister did famous work on this idea. His main point is simple. Every small decision drains a little charge from your mental battery, and at some point that battery drops all the way to empty. By the end of the day, the more decisions you have already made handling work, kids, and bills, the less energy you have left for that last task. That is why sitting and watching a show feels effortless, yet folding one shirt feels impossible. The shirt itself is not actually hard, but your brain has tied so much weight, so much guilt, and so much past to that one task that the breaker has already tripped. This is not laziness. This is a safety switch. But what happens after this switch turns off? That is the real trap. Now a strange loop begins. The room gets messy, so guilt shows up. The guilt makes you avoid the task, because just looking that way feels bad. When you avoid it, the room gets even messier. And that extra mess creates fresh guilt all over again. The loop feeds on itself and keeps growing on its own. First it is one plate, then the whole sink, then the whole kitchen. At every step, the weight gets heavier. And shame has a really scary side to it. We think shame shakes people up and gets them moving. It is actually the opposite. Most of the time, shame freezes the body up. There is a phrase in psychology, fight, flight, freeze, meaning fight, run, or freeze in place. You look at that messy corner, a heavy stone drops inside your chest, and your body picks the third one, freezing. You cannot move, because your breaker has cut the whole line by then. From the outside, this freezing looks exactly like laziness. The person is just lying there, scrolling on their phone, doing nothing. But inside, there is a war going on that nobody sees. This is why the old advice does not work for these people. Just clean as you go, just try harder, just stop being lazy. That advice is for people whose brain switch is still turned on. And the honest truth is, the people who look at your messy room from a distance, turn up their nose, and rule you lazy, most of them have never once had to carry this invisible weight in their life, which is why they can judge you so easily. Telling that to someone whose breaker has tripped is the same as standing in front of a dark room and just yelling at them to press the switch harder. But one question is still left. What exactly did the switch shut off to protect you from? So it all seems clear now, right? The brain is tired, the breaker tripped, you froze, and that is it. Story over. Get some rest, charge the battery, and everything will be fine. Sounds good, right? But hold on a second. This is where the deepest thing is hiding. And this part is exactly for you. Because plenty of people take a week off, sleep, rest, and the room still stays messy. So the problem is not only physical tiredness, it goes a little deeper, to the place where you have now turned this mess into your own identity. And that story has not been told yet. One small sentence changes everything. You stop saying, "My room is a little messy today." Instead, you start saying, "I am just a messy person." A habit suddenly becomes your identity. Because once your brain accepts something as your identity, it starts hunting for proof of it. Psychologists call this confirmation bias, which in plain words is a quiet addiction to proving your own belief true. A pile of clothes lying on the floor suddenly looms larger to you than all those times you cleaned the room beautifully. Your brain blows up your failures and quietly erases your wins. Let us go back to childhood for a second. When your room got messy, Did you get scolded every time? Did cleaning only happen when someone got angry and yelled? Our brain does not just remember events, it remembers feelings. If cleaning gets tied to fear, pressure, and the feeling of not being good enough, that memory stays in your body for years. You might have forgotten where it came from, but your body has not. And this is exactly where the real turn happens. Now let me tell you the biggest truth, the one that will make you see yourself differently. Sometimes a messy room is not a sign of laziness. It is a sign of survival. When someone goes through burnout, grief, depression, or long stretches of stress, their brain shifts into survival mode, meaning the mode where you just get through. In that state, the brain's number one job is not a shiny floor. The number one job is just getting through today. For a new mom who does not get even 3 hours of sleep at night, plates piling up in the sink are normal, because all her energy is going into keeping a tiny human alive. Cleaning drops way down the list then, not because you do not care, but because your brain believes something else matters more right now. Just staying afloat. Now think about the breaker again. This whole time you thought the switch turning off meant you are broken, that there is a big problem inside you. But the truth is the complete opposite. The breaker trips precisely when it wants to save the house. Your brain switch is doing the exact same thing. It is not making you useless, it is protecting you. A messy room is not proof of your failure. It is a warning signal from your brain. And honestly, I cannot say for sure this explanation holds 100% for everyone. The human mind is complicated. For some people, there might really be a bit of plain habit and slack too, and owning that takes courage as well. But for most of the people who beat themselves up as lazy night after night, the real reason is not laziness. The real reason is a weight they carry that nobody sees. Not even you yourself. So maybe we have been asking the wrong question this whole time. Drop the question, why am I so lazy? Instead, ask yourself, what is my brain trying to protect me from? This one question changes everything. Because blaming yourself gives birth to more fear and even more freezing. But understanding yourself gives birth to the safety your brain needed before it could get moving. Remember, a tripped breaker and a burned-out breaker are not the same thing. A burned-out breaker has to be replaced, but a tripped breaker just needs to be gently flipped back up. You have not burned out. You have just been stuck under too much load for a long time. So today, do not take on the whole house. Just one drawer, one plate, one shirt. That much is enough, because flipping one small switch back up teaches your brain to believe again that the big line will come back on one day too. Your worth has never been measured by your pile of folded laundry. The goal is not a perfect house. The goal is understanding yourself just enough to take one more step forward. And now that final answer, the one I left open at the start. What exactly is your brain protecting you from? It is protecting you from the weight you have carried alone all this time without ever telling anyone. The room was never really the dirty thing. It was your insides that were worn out from the weight, and all this time nobody ever said it. Now it is your turn, and I really do want to hear your answer. Write down one thing in the comments that you have been meaning to clean up for ages, and you will see you are not alone. Next time you stand in front of the mirror and start calling yourself lazy, remember that switch, because now you know what it really is. And that is why I am tossing this final question over to you. Do you think a messy room really is a safety switch in the brain? Or is it just an excuse dressed up in science so we do not have to hold ourselves accountable anymore?